Hello, I'm Veronica Decker, and welcome to Fashion and Beauty Talks here on Arise News. Join me as we chat about the latest in fashion, news, and beauty. Of course, be sure to keep up with us as we stay on top of trends and key players in the industry within Africa and around the world. A poet once said, "A well-tied tie is the first serious step in life." Today, we are talking about men's fashion, including best basics, classic, stylish evening wear, and casual street style looks. Up first on the show, we have Tomini Tai, the man behind Tai Lure. I will also be talking to the creative director behind Zar, who makes eclectic, fashionable pieces for the fellas. And before that, I'll be bringing you fashion news from around the world. Keep watching because Fashion and Beauty Talks will be right back. The new Duke and Duchess of Sussex stepped out for their first official engagement as a married couple. The Duchess arrived to an event wearing a pink pastel dress with a sheer top and sleeves, a matching hat by Philip Tracy, and her hair in a slick low bun. They were seen with Charles and Camilla at a garden party at Buckingham Palace, the Prince of Wales' 70th birthday patronage celebration. As Meghan Markle has now officially become a member of the firm, we are seeing her style take on a completely new approach. You can grab yourself one of her pieces as soon as you like. Right now, we're going to break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Fashion and Beauty Talks on Arise News. I'm Veronica Odeka. Tomini Tai is the creative director for Tai, a menswear fashion brand, an architect by training, and a fashion designer by passion. Tomini's penchant for arts and creativity started at an extremely young age. Today, he'll be telling us about his journey into fashion and why menswear matters too. I am so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
I'm sure you know. I mean, I saw you earlier and I was like, ooh, you look so dapper. Welcome. I mean, you're so cool and calm and, you know, is this part of the whole packaging, as we like to say?
You have to give it.
You have to give them the whole, you know, you can't be all over the place.
Exactly.
Suited and booted.
Composed, and there's something about it.
This is great. You know, just now I mentioned and I said, you know, creative architecture. I can see, because obviously this has come into play in how you now have started this whole brand. Tell us about this whole drive and this vision from when you started and how you became a menswear designer, even the passion.
Well, I started while I was in school. Yeah, so I was training as an architect. So I started to illustrate, you know. But funny how I started with women's wear.
Interestingly enough.
Because there was something about women's wear that was, you know, very dynamic.
Exactly.
You know, so there were a lot of elements you could actually play with.
Yes,
you know?
yes. There's more of a range, and I feel a lot of times as designers, even if they're male designers or female designers, when it comes to women's wear, the creativity and the elements to just explore what you can do is there.
So that's where I started. But when I was where I actually dived into the business of fashion was after I worked on a project. I think it was a fashion film. So this was when I was doing my MSc.
Yes.
Right? So I worked on it with a colleague, and it was actually lots of fun. So, okay, after it, we were like, okay, how about we do something together and
try to,
so
And so you weren't, you know, I noticed that you said, you know, from a young age, you were already interested in fashion, because sometimes people, you know, they might not divulge in it, but you kind of have an idea that, oh, I really like, you know, either playing dress up, or I really like, I pay attention to the way looks, you know, are presented by people that are wearing them. Was that part of your interest as you were growing up?
As little as, let's say, 3.
Oh, really? You would pay attention to how, are you one of those kids that would pick your clothes and dress yourself?
Once they get picked for me, I would, you know, orchestrate the way it will look in the end. So I'll need to tuck in and all of that, have my bow tie. Yeah.
And then you would be good to go.
Good to go.
Okay, so now tell me, how do you go from deciding to get into a business with a friend to now setting up your own menswear line? Because it's one thing to be an architect, and it's one thing to have an interest in menswear, or even in design as an aesthetic period. But how do you then say, you know what, I'm not going to pursue architecture anymore as a full-time career, but instead I'm going to divulge my time into menswear?
Well, it's for me, as I said, it was about the passion.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the passion fueled you.
Yes. So it's not like I didn't have a passion for architecture. I actually still do. I still draw. I still design. Yeah. So, but fashion, there's something, there's a joy you get when you actually see
something that you've sketched and now
from
has
paper
come to real life form.
So it's amazing.
So tell us about menswear in general, because like I said, when I saw you, I was like, you're really, styling and profiling. And so how has this journey been since you started in these last few years? Because I think we have some of your pieces now.
Well, it's been really good. It's been really good. Menswear is, there's still some, especially in Nigeria, there's still some very strict rules you have to follow, because people are not yet too open to
pushing the boundaries, to pushing the boundaries to menswear all the way to
like the color I'm wearing now. Not everyone is going to be open to wear it.
Yes,
So you have to just play accordingly, but still be creative in whatever.
So do you think that, or how much of a part has your architecture background and what you do still as an architect play in your aesthetic for your brand, because of the lines and everything is clean and it's not, streetwear that you're designing? Does that play a big role in it subconsciously or not?
Of course it does, because in training as an architect, you have to pay attention to details.
Detail, yes.
So it's all about the details.
Okay.
The most tiny detail that someone else would probably neglect,
yes,
you pay attention to it.
And so it has helped you.
This has translated, and also the processes, it's kind of, it kind of works around the same process. So there is a mode for design as an architect. There is also a mode for design as a fashion designer. Yeah. So it kind of,
one has helped the other. It's almost like you scratch my back with one, I've scratched your back with the other one.
Exactly.
And so for you kind of have best of both worlds as you're working. I know you told me also, when I asked about the suit, and I said, why menswear? Why suits? And and you said, that the demand is still high. And I was literally shocked. That really?
Yeah.
Suits, menswear?
Because people get married every Saturday.
Yeah.
People go to the office Monday to Friday. So there's a huge market for it. So there's a huge demand for it. So and it's the business of fashion. At the end of the day, apart from passion, you have to back it up with money.
Yes, you have to. So do you find out that you seem to tend to make more things with color for people over the weekends when they have weddings and the groomsmen, and then kind of keep it tailored, more classic with people that do work with? Or do you have some guys that work during the week that actually don't mind pushing boundaries? No, it's a very completely...
Most office people do office colors, black, gray, blue, straight up.
And what about ready-to-wear? Do you have ready-to-wear, or is everything customized for the client?
For now, we are working on a ready-to-wear line.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're still concentrating on the bespoke.
On the bespoke.
So that's where it is.
Yeah, well, what about the shirts? Do you make shirts that are ready to wear, like a nice shirt?
It's still something we're working on.
Oh, okay, so that would be definitely for the ready-to-wear, ready-to-wear line. I want to ask you, setting up a business in Nigeria, from a lot of entrepreneurs that I hear, is time-consuming. It's very challenging and very difficult. What have been some of the strategies that you have implemented to make sure that your business is able to stand the test of time?
Well, it's basically about creating a system.
Okay.
Right, so a system that would work for you. So, we know the factors that affect a lot of things.
Everyone.
Exactly, light,
diesel, staff.
Exactly, staff. Very key. So when you're dealing with all of this, you have to know how to create a balance for yourself.
Okay.
For your brand, and know how best it will work for you. So in setting up, you have to consider a lot of things. How to power, that's one. How to keep your staff. You know, because nowadays it's very so it's all those kind of things. You have to create that system to work for you.
And have you been able to have you had great success with that? Or is it something that you also struggle with? Because, you know, a lot of our young people that are watching are entrepreneurs and they're looking up, they're seeing someone like you. I mean, you don't look like you break a sweat. You're sitting here, you know, calm, you know. So they're probably looking like, oh, he has it easy. It must come easy for him. He's an architect. He's gone into menswear. So are there some struggles that you still face today that you had when you initially started the business?
Well, I think the major problem that still comes up once in a while is the staffing part.
The staffing part.
Yeah, because nowadays a lot of people are, you know, inconsistent. You know, so trying to help them, you have to help them balance themselves
exactly
first,
before they can now help
before
you
they can help
to
you
progress.
to progress.
So that's a good point for people to take. So we're going to head for a break right now. But of course, we'll be back and there will be more from Tomini on the show. So please stay tuned. Welcome back to Fashion and Beauty Talks on Arise News. I'm Veronica Deca. Conversation continues with my dapper guest in the studio. So I know, Tomini, before we went to break, we were just talking about some of the challenges that one might face in business, you know, such as yourself. And I was saying that, you know, a lot of young entrepreneurs, we know that there's so many issues that we face, challenges, and you've obviously shared some of yours or whatever. But if someone is looking up to you and they're just saying, you know, I want to get into menswear, I want to become a designer, you know, what are some of the tips that you can give someone based on your personal struggles?
Firstly, I would say you have to first have case studies. You have to study.
So it is really good to study and to intern maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you have to do all of that. So you basically understand the system.
Okay.
So you interning would give you, you know, an insight into how things work, you know.
Yeah. With the
having
menswear brand,
so.
And because there is obviously I think a lot of times people are driven by passion. Like you clearly said you were driven by passion, but the one good thing about you is that you have this architecture background and you still have it, which has aided you. But that discipline, I feel a lot of times people don't have it. So would it be wise that you say, would the internship be enough, or should someone learn some sort of business practice to kind of aid them? Or, you know, how did that help or not help you?
You know, at the end of the day, there's also the personal, you know, a person's character comes into play with all of that. So in trying to understand, you know, the business of fashion without having a base already, you know, your personality actually has to come to play. Yeah, so that's it.
Otherwise, you might not have the ability to drive forward. So with your brand, I know you definitely said, yes, the suits, and you are working on the ready-to-wear line. But another really big thing you hit on was the fact that you do trad. And I know that obviously you make the suits, weddings are a big thing. So how did the trad, how did you now put trad inside the mix there? You know,
also it's in running a business, you have to look at your market, right? So where you see that, okay, there's a market for something, and you have the ability to provide that service, you know, so I mean, why not go into it?
So for you, was it more, did you have customers that make the suits and they would come and then they would say, Tomini?
Exactly. So they'll say, oh, you're making the wedding suit. Do you do trads?
Trad as well, because we might have the trad coming in. Or, Tomini, you have my measurements. Please, can you guys make me something? I have a wedding to attend or a function or something like that. And then that's how the demand. So the demand was there, and you already have the customer. In order to retain the customer, you just went ahead and created something to supply for that demand. That they do have. So what if you wanted to be a designer and just start native instead? Would that have been a good avenue, or do you feel like as a designer people should look for the demand first of all before they?
Well, it's, I mean, for you to want to start, you would have definitely seen a possibility.
But where your strong market
exactly, you know. So, and also you have to assess, you know, your access to you know, the labor, the skill, and all of that. So if you see that, around you, you have lots of people that can actually tailor natives and all of that, and you say, oh, it's easy for me to access this, you know. So it's something that you could just
breeze into
instead of having that and then going to look for something else that you don't have on ground. So it's about working with what you have, basically.
You know, one thing that I found that's really interesting in what I'd like to call this new age of the way entrepreneurs are springing up, but even more so designers, is the aid of technology. and social media being really heavy on play.
Yeah.
As apart from previously before when designers had to start and it's word of mouth, nowadays it's almost like straight to market, straight to sell. How has your brand been able to key in and tap into this new millennium social media madness?
I mean, I would definitely say social media is a blessing.
Really?
Yes,
Free marketing?
absolutely. It's free.
Please
Because
share.
Instagram, Facebook, all the platforms, you really don't have to pay anything, really.
Okay.
All you got to do, have a followership, drop your images. So it's, it kind of markets for you. When people are moved by what they see.
Yeah.
So when they see and they're like, oh, I like this, I like the way it sits on you, blah, blah, blah. They say, yo, did you do this for us?
Yeah.
So that's how it works.
So how much of your business can you say within the last year has been heavily influenced by social media?
A lot.
Wow, really? That much? So.
A whole lot. So by the time you drop a video, drop a new collection, and people are seeing things that they like, they start to call and say, oh, I like this element, I like this one, can I get this, can I get this, but in a different color?
Wow, yes. Then you know you're all right. I do know that in order to sustain a business and keep going, one must be ahead of the curve. One must be creative. One must be innovative. One must keep looking ahead, and not get complacent with where they are.
Yeah.
So I know some of the big designers now, what they do is take their consumers along the journey with them of how they source their fabrics, how they cut, how they put the pieces together, the atelier who's working behind the scenes. A lot of the documentary process for you is in place. Do you apply any of these practices? And if so, why or why not?
Yes, we do. I mean, carrying, people like to feel like they're part
of your journey.
Your journey, So when you actually carry them along, they can say, oh, I knew when this guy started, this is, so they can basically have an idea or have a feel of how you work, of how you operate. So it's when you have that for them, it's easier for them to say, okay, this is basically the system.
Yes.
Let's go with it. So it's...
For you, it has definitely worked and it's been comfortable.
Yep.
So I want to know what's next for this empire, because you're building an empire. Yep. I know that from the suits to the native to the ready-to-wear. What's next? There are accessories. I know that you have the tie you're wearing, the brooch you have. Is that part of the foresight for the brand?
Well, we have a large scope that we're looking at, but I mean, everything is step by step. So as we progress, we would still go into women's wear.
Yes. Okay. Wow. So yeah, that hunch you had earlier in the beginning. Yes, it's still that itch. Exactly. You need to scratch it with the women's wear.
But just as I said earlier, I have access, or I have an access to a ready skill set for the menswear.
Okay.
So why not use that now?
Exactly, and apply it and then create.
It and start to build the other side. So that's what I'm doing. I'm still building the other side.
Yeah.
But it hasn't gotten to the point where I'd say, oh, I want to push it out for people
to come in on full board. So when someone is getting something from Tomini, what can they expect to get? What are they getting? If I'm saying that I want you, what do you offer your customers, or somebody who calls you?
With Taylor, that's the brand. With Taylor, we want to actually put your demands first.
Yes.
So I mean, everyone has what they want, their specific needs and all of that. So that's what we try to offer. So basically, we offer you the best in service. You're calm, you know that, okay, you're getting your things timely.
Yes.
Time is also a very important
I hear
factor.
that is a big pusher. So you are someone that creates and you definitely deliver on time, like everyone says. So yeah. So they're coming, they're getting great service, they're getting timely service.
Very important. Because there's the idea that, oh, tailors, when you get in tailor, when they tell you 1 week.
But is it a lie? It's not a lie.
It's not a lie, but I mean, it's... we try to,
well, which I think it's a like I said, when you're thinking ahead of the curve and you're saying, what is one step? People, I mean, other countries are like, that's not a factor, but here it's a big thing. If you're somebody who's able to deliver on time, that's something that you can use ahead of the curve.
Yes.
So
that's something we try to capitalize on. So we have a system that's set up for, to accommodate those things.
Yes.
And really, for time, what actually happens that a lot of people miss it is, when they don't put factors into consideration, like light.
Yes.
By the time they tell you, oh, you get your clothes in 3 days.
Yes.
and maybe they don't really have a gen or something.
Exactly, yeah.
And then there's no light in the area. So how do they get to meet up with that?
Yes.
So, but we try to set up a system where, okay, we have steady power.
Okay.
So it's expensive, but
it doesn't matter, because then what happens is they keep coming back because they can depend on you. This is absolutely wonderful. And right before we go, I'd like you to share with Handle, because I'm sure people are saying, Veronica, ask him, how do we order a piece? How do we contact him? We need him to make our agbadas. We need him to make our chart. We need him to make our... Why don't you share?
So you can reach us on Instagram. That's where we're really strong for now. We're building a website as well.
Okay, website is coming.
Yeah, coming. So you can reach us on Instagram at Taylor, TAI.LORE.
Ah, that is quite spiffy. TAI
dot
LORE.
Yep.
And then they can contact you if they have any questions or answer. So fantastic. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate you coming on. I definitely want to have you on again eventually in the future so we can see when you've branched into the women's wear. So you can come on.
Maybe you'll be wearing our piece by then. Exactly.
Yes, thank you so much. That's all from Fashion and Beauty Talks today. I'd like to thank you all so very much for tuning in. Till next time, goodbye for now.